Click the links, yada yada. Have we turned the corner on woke comics? So I read 3 comics, Thor 5, Conan 1, and Titans number 1. And what I noticed was that they weren't insanely woke. There was some female girl power stuff that perhaps didn't need to be there, but they weren't obnoxious about it. And let me use Conan as my example because it's my favorite. I like the ancient civilization setting, the kind of Lost World stuff. It reminded me of that comic where there are those 2 Indians that get stuck in the valley that's full of dinosaurs and they can't get out because the I don't know, walls are the volcanic flow is too steep or something. I don't know. It's silly, but it was fun. Anyway, I think it was called Turek. I noticed that comics have toned down this nonsense. And maybe the lost sales are waking them up, but it's just a temporary thing. I guarantee that it won't last because they are hardcore about ideology, or at least the young ones are. Those are also known as useful idiots. And it would probably be a challenge. See, I like these vast expanses. You got this guy up on a hill and a dinosaur in the background. It's kind of kick-ass. It would be a challenge to make Conan woke, though I'm sure they have tried. The stories were written in the 1930s, and the Marxist takeover of the West is happening so fast that pretty soon everything will be politically incorrect, wrongthink. Anything that you enjoy, they want to crush and destroy. They are destroying statues today and unpublishing books. Isn't that digital book burning? Yes, it is. They're even pulling scientific articles that deal with uncomfortable topics related to psychology and cultural anthropology. I'm editing this on the fly because science is now double plus ungood. If you're studying cultural anthropology now, it's probably a minefield. You won't be able to study some godless heathen cannibals, and no, that's not offensive. Look up heathen. That's just factually accurate. Because anything that portrays non-Euros in a bad light is haram. So pretty soon, all these lost primitive civilization stories are going to disappear. And if you take it a step further, you get Conan poisoning and disemboweling a dinosaur. Isn't that animal abuse against a systemically marginalized and oppressed monster? Even the term monster is problematic. Who are we to judge the tyrant king of the Saurians? Saurian lives matter. You think I'm joking, but at one time, people laughed at men in dresses, and I'm not saying that as an insult to them. I mean, that was where the culture was. Now the mob would get you fired. Truth is stranger than fiction. The Onion and the Babylonian Bee cannot keep up. So yeah, I love this kind of stuff. And I did. What's that? What's that symbolism there, buddy? That's I just scrolled past that when I first saw it, and then I thought about it, and I thought, wait a minute, there's something odd about that. Something odd about that fuzzy peach being pierced in dripping wet sticky juices. And even to make it worse, they put the girl right next to it. These people think they're so slick. We'll get this right past an editor. Whatever. I guess comics are not what they used to be. Anyway, this kind of had a lot of graphic violence in it. This guy disembowels a dinosaur or some sort of monster. I don't know what the setting is supposed to be. But it's kick-ass. But it's also got a lot of TNA in it, which is definitely unusual in modern comics. Then they go to this lost civilization, which I mean, nowadays, everything is problematic. Everyone's terrified of offending some group of 16-year-old girls on Twitter, because that's where our culture is now. It's pretty much run by 16-year-old girls. That does not meet with their approval. That is, beautiful blonde bodies are definitely haram. So this was kind of a refreshing change of pace to get into this. Okay, this is one of the authors of the Washington Post article, and if you think she's staring into your soul and judging you, yes. I mentioned something about SJWs not being able to see anyone ever happy, and someone in the comments said there's a quote about Puritans being, probably sounds like a Mark Twain quote about they want to destroy any joy and pleasure that a group of people have because they don't feel it themselves. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what SJWs are. Anyway, so this is one of the co-authors. This is Sydney Trent. And the other author is a managing editor is Mark Fisher, and he's just anyway, so the Washington Post published this 3,000-word manifesto about a woman with no public presence who wore an unusual Halloween costume. I guess she thought she was Justin Trudeau at a party 2 years ago. So a girl at the party waited 2 years to dox her and get 2 reporters at the Post to destroy her life. Keep in mind that the woman who is not a public figure, honestly, she sounds like kind of a wine mom. I guess she's divorced. She's got 2 kids who took an Uber to this party. So I kind of got this weird vibe that she is either drinking a lot or maybe on some Valium or something. I'm not trying to make allegations of defamation or anything, but it's just her behavior was a little weird to wear this Justin Trudeau costume in 2018. It's something doesn't quite add up for a professional woman in her 50s to do that. It's just a little bit odd. And but the thing is, she's not a public figure. So there's nothing newsworthy in destroying her life. And don't get me wrong, the costume is a bizarre choice in 2018. It would be a bizarre choice in 1978, even in 1968. But unless you're a Democratic governor, then I guess it's A-O-fucking-K, because denial is, I don't know. Anyway, so the reason the Washington Post decided to destroy her life is to send a signal, a warning to people that if you commit wrongthink, you'll be fired. If you call the cops on a black dude who threatens to poison your dog, you'll get death threats. That terrorist attack in Southern California, the neighbor didn't want to call the FBI on the Muslims because he didn't want to be called Islamophobic and become unhireable. So he stayed silent, and the fundamentalists did what they do, extinguished life. It's like when CNN threatened to dox the guy who made a meme that Trump retweeted. The meme is newsworthy, but to dox the author will have a chilling effect on free expression. CNN and Washington Post know that. They are very much up on constitutional law where it relates to the First Amendment. They're not all attorneys, though there are a lot of attorneys who are writing for them, or at least work for them. But they know the common law on the First Amendment very, very well. And that phrase, chilling expression on free speech, chilling effect, and the open marketplace of all ideas. These are just from Supreme Court cases through the years that have shaped the American understanding of personal liberties. And the media is against that. They're allowed to operate because of one of the other provisions of the First Amendment, press. Now, why would the press want to silence diverse voices? Because they're not reporters. They're far left-wing activists. Free speech for them, but not for you. If that sounds insane to you, well, welcome to the party. It's the height of hypocrisy. That is what authoritarian totalitarians do. They control thought by controlling the means of communication, press and social media. People call them fascists as a general pejorative, but it's exactly what the communists also do. The Russian Constitution had free expression, but it was just words on paper. If you spoke wrongthink, you got to knock at the door at 4 a.m. The press is openly doing this because the press isn't some group of Americans who are hired for their impartialness. The shot callers in mainstream media are almost 100% globalists. If you want to turn somebody into a Nazi, I can do it in 6 months. Here's how. Follow the media, all the mainstream and the internet ones. Follow the talent, follow the people behind the scenes, the guest experts that they have on. CNN, MSNBC have 90% far left experts on. Follow the authors that they push, the college professors who are making waves, the blue check marks. It's only 500 to 1,000 people. Read their tweets. 6 months later, you'll either be a Nazi or you'll have given up. And don't give up. Don't get sad, get mad. What did Rihanna? I better not say that. When you live in a society where the press wants to censor the alternative press, it's time to get ready because the barbarians are at the gate. People worry about Antifa and BLM destroying cities and extinguishing life and struggle snuggling people. But the globalist mainstream press want to kill ideas. Some reporter, political commentator guy said on Twitter that he congratulated George Floyd for being drug-free for a month because he's deceased. That's the joke. And he was on drugs at the time he was killed. There are thousands of people demanding that he be expelled from school. He's even receiving death threats. Someone in the Twitter said something like, if the school doesn't do something, the mob will. Keep in mind, Floyd invaded a pregnant woman's home and put a gun to her belly. He is Black Lives Matter Angel, who happens to have multiple felonies. It's weird that so many of their heroes often turn out to be scumbags. The kids who are calling to expel him seem to forget that the student attends a state school, i.e. the state constitution applies, as does the federal one. Free expression, free press, and of course due process. The lynch mob may be able to get him kicked off social media, but they'll have a challenge getting him expelled. The athletic scholarship kids are threatening not to play sports unless he is expelled. The head of the ladies' basketball team wrote a demand letter that read like a child wrote it. I think she needs to stay in college and hit those remedial reading courses. And really, who gives a shit about women's sports? What's worse is that people in the administration are virtue signaling about how the student's tweet was so istophobic. Bruh. Do you even read the Bill of Rights? Read the First and Fifth Amendment, then make the connection that we must defend the speech we find most offensive. Otherwise, who do we trust to be our masters and decide what speech is permissible and what is verboten? Remember that one day the mob will come for you because you'll never be far left enough for the mob. I think a lot of these people are just such bleeding pussies that they know the mob will never come for them because they'll never take a stand on anything. They just want to put their head down and go along and get along. That's what slaves do. The media itself is sending a message that free expression will be punished. You'll be fired and made homeless. You and your children will be punished. The lady who painted her face like Justin Trudeau, that's pretty offensive. Fair enough. But should she be unable to feed her kids? What kind of Orwellian nightmare do we want to live in? Because the censorship is not applied equally. It's only against the non-privileged classes of Untermensch, known as the Europeans or European Americans. Say you have a black student who snuggles a girl. Where is the Twitter mob? Or a black guy who puts a gun to a pregnant woman's belly and beats the hell out of her. Where's the outrage? When he got out of prison for the 5th time, people claimed that he was turning his life around, except that he was high on speed and painkillers, passing counterfeit money when he was arrested, allegedly. No social media mobs are trying to destroy his life. Doesn't that seem a little bit odd? Almost like a double standard? That's because it is. What is more of a danger to society? A man who beats up pregnant women or a person who wears an offensive Halloween costume? Why would the Washington Post listen to a Puerto Rican girl and a black trans person and write an article? Well, there's your answer right there. You've got two protected, privileged people deciding to attack Sue Schaefer, a 56-year-old woman, 2 years after the event because Mark Fisher and Sidney Trent knew that they could get eyeballs and much-needed cash for a media company that is hurting for cash. And it worked. The Washington Post made money, and Sue Schaefer is out of a job and not likely to be rehired anywhere ever. Oh, and if you look up Sidney Trent and Mark Fisher, they look like the parasites that they are. They are goblins in human disguises. Anyway, I started reading comics, and then I got distracted by cultural events. Anyway, click the link to subscribe, send me your Comicsgate project for editing, suggest videos, or to otherwise support the channel. All right, guys, I'll see you all next episode.